Alright, so now we're going to get into weighting, and this is something that I usually tend to stay away from. There have been the rare occasions when I use it, however I usually try to avoid it because sometimes it can cause problems more than it does good. So just keep that in mind if you decide to use it. So what exactly is weighting and how do you use it? Well, it's very simple. You can weight points or you can weight edges. And in order to do that, you'll just select the points or the edges on your object that you want to weight, and then you'll hold down the period key, or otherwise known as the full stop key. And then while holding that key down, you just click and drag to the right to apply weight, or click and drag to the left to remove weight. So I figured a good example to use for weighting to show you where you may want to use it would be on an object like this arrowhead. So this is just a very quick low poly arrowhead, and of course it's in a hypernerb object, and when we turn that on it looks like that. And that really doesn't look like an arrowhead. The end here, the tip, has been rounded out way too much. Now we could go in and add some subdivision with some knife cuts, and we could properly model the tip in order to sharpen it up. Or in this case, we could try some weighting to see how that goes. So if we take a look at the model itself, you can see that this inner extrusion here has actually been pulled up slightly. This part right in here, and I'll just highlight those polygons. You can see here that's actually been pulled up just a little bit. And along this edge here, I would like to sharpen that edge up. So I'm going to use the loop selection, and I'm just going to select that inside edge loop there. I'm going to turn the hypernerb on, and with the object selected, hold down the period key, and then click and drag to the right. And you can see, if you click to the right or the left to take weight away, and then back to the right to add it, you can see that we're adding weight to that inside edge that we just selected, and it's sharpened up for us. So if we click on the weight tag that has now been added to the object, you can see where the weight has been applied. Everything that is blue is considered to have no weight. However, the areas in red, in this darker shade of red, are the areas that have the weight to them. So if we deselect everything, you can see the areas in which the weighting has been applied. You can see that now those edges have now been tightened up, and they're now looking sharper compared to the way they were before. Alright, so that looks okay, but what about this tip? We still need to work on this tip. Okay, well, let's go back into edge mode, and let's select these edges here along the front. And now let's apply weighting to those. Now you can see by applying weight to those two edges, we have now sharpened up the tip. And I'd say that looks pretty good. Now we are getting a little artifacting in there, and the reason for that is because we need to go and also select these edges as well that go all the way around. So I'm just going to use the loop selection to select those as well. Okay, so now we want to apply some weight to those. Alright, so that's looking a little better. Okay, so let's click on the weight tag again, and now you can see these areas now have weight to them. So we'll deselect the tag, click on the object again, and what I want to do is I want to select these edges here along with these, and then the same over on the other side. Okay, so now we want to apply some weighting to those. Alright, now that's kind of taking on the look of more of a spear end rather than an arrowhead. So I think what we'll do is we'll deselect these two edges here, and then we'll take these edges here that we have selected on both sides, and we want to hold down the period key again, but this time we want to take the weight off of these edges. So we'll click and drag to the left, and that will take the weight off. Okay, that looks a little better. Alright, now there's still a few issues here. You can see we've got some shading issues right here in the front that look a little weird. So one quick way to fix this, and in order to ensure that your edges are razor sharp, because you can see right now that the shading on them makes them appear as though they're rather dull. you can see that we definitely do have a sharp line along there, but I would personally like to have that line be more pronounced. So we can do that by going over to the Fong tag on the cube, and we'll just start to take this Fong angle down. And I'm just going to start watching this until it gets to an edge that I like. So 40 looks pretty good, although right here the shading still looks a little off, so I'm just going to take this angle down a little bit more until we get to about there. So maybe an angle of 25. So now you can see by taking that down to an angle of 25, we have now really sharpened this up. And the hypernerb is still applying the subdivision to it. And still smoothing out, or actually rounding out, the edges here up to the point. We got a little bit of weird artifacting going on back here at the back. You can see right in here on both of those. So we could probably take this down one more to 24, and you can see that just by going down one more degree, we've solved that issue. Now you need to be careful with this, because if you go too low with this number, I'll show you what happens. You can see that we're now starting to get these lines in here, and if we continue to go down, you can see it's starting to take on more of a hardened polygon look, which means that now these polygons are no longer smooth. And of course we can take this all the way down, and now you can see where every one of the polygons are at. And of course that just doesn't look right. So I think a value in this case of 24 will work. However, in your case, you may have to make some adjustments to your Fong angle value here in order to find what looks best for your object. Okay, so just like we've done here with these edges, you can also do the same with points. So just very quickly, I'll show you. If we go into point mode, I'll select these points back here, and we can apply some weighting to these points. And I'll just go back and forth so you can see what's going on here. You can see we apply weight to those points, take the weight off, and I'll select these points here in the middle as well. And you can see by applying weight to these points, it's not really working out for us. Not really giving us the results that we're looking for. So sometimes you may have to go between point mode and edge mode in order to get good results. Now this is one reason why I tend to stay away from weighting. In the case of this arrowhead, it works really well because we have this sharp edge here, and we also have the sharp edge up here at the front, represented by the tip of this arrowhead. So in this case, the weighting worked really good for us. But even then, that would probably be the extent of where I would want to use it on something like this. And the reason for that is just because of how fast things can quickly become nasty when using it. As seen back here with these points, if we try to apply weight to the points, we get that nasty mess. So let's go to edge mode, and I'm going to try these edges here on the corner, and we'll see how this works compared to point mode. Okay, so that actually worked out quite well. Looks pretty good. Okay, so again, like I said, on an object like this where you want your edges and your tips to be razor sharp, weighting will work really good for you in combination with a lower value on the Fong tag. However, I'm sure you're probably going to come across some objects every now and then where you think weighting will work, and you'll see that it actually starts to cause more problems than it does good, and then you'll realize that you'll just need to model those areas out and subdivide them properly versus weighting them.